Hey there, welcome. My name is Dr. Greg Celaya, and today we have a very special guest. We have Dr. John Purcell, and he's head of vegetable seed R&D for Bayer Corporation. And before we get started, go ahead and hit that subscribe button down below, and also hit the bell to be notified of any future videos. And make sure to leave a comment so we can have a conversation. I was watching some videos, basically farm to table, where the chefs are out there and they're working with the companies. And I don't know if they're working with companies like yours, but to try and develop better taste, and maybe even better nutrition. And how do you balance those things?
Yeah, it's one of the reasons why we have events like we did this week, and all the companies do them around this time of year when the crops are all coming to harvest. We don't just have the growers out there. We don't just have the farmer producers. We also have members from the food chain, whether it be the retail side or the packer shippers. In many cases, we invite chefs, we invite bloggers, food bloggers. We invite people out who are part of the whole food ecosystem. Because what we want to do is develop those kinds of products that are going to be attractive. And we need people who are tasting them and are saying, wow, this is really good stuff. Because then they can give us the insights we need to say, this is what consumers are really looking for. Because it's not just at the grower level. Obviously, we need the whole food chain as part of this development process. And that's what we try to do through external events, but also through relationships. We have a lot of great relationships where when we run taste panels, retailers also run taste panels to see how their consumers are responding to the products we're trying to develop.
Interesting. So what does it mean to you when somebody says, small farm, family-owned, organic, natural, traditional, and local, and, those all must be good. Tell me about what you think about that aspect.
I think there is this, I think we got to think at what is it people are looking for out of their food experience. And I always think about my brother's ranch in Montana, and he does local production. People visit that. They love it. Why? Small, local, family owned, 200 acres, small by Montana standards. And I love what he does. He works very extremely hard. He's supposed to market, but he's also quick to point out he's producing pork for local markets, but he's not putting pork chops in grocery stores. You need both kinds of production. I think the challenge we have is we sometimes want to have only certain labels. We only think this is good, this is bad, this is right, this is wrong. I call it kind of there's a binary thought process going on, when in fact we need it all. We've got a lot of people on the circuit. We got fewer and fewer people farming. We need the small, local, family-owned. My own family does that, but we also need the big producers who are keeping our food prices low, that are giving us the availability we need nationwide and all that. So I think, because in many, at least the growers and farmers I've worked with over the last 30 years, everybody's committed to sustainability. It's their livelihood, the water, the land, etc. They're just doing it at a different scale. They're using different technologies. So one of the things I try to do is try to talk to people about big doesn't necessarily mean not sustainable, or modern doesn't necessarily mean it's not the way we want farmers grown. In fact, I wrote a piece on LinkedIn about this where I talked about there's some great examples out there of highly technified or really large operations that, because they have the capital investments, they can do incredible things from a sustainability perspective. But you're right, there is a model out there that unless it has certain labels to it, whether it be local or family owned, whatever, it's no good. We gotta get past that, because we need producers of all sizes, producers of all types, and we got to be supporting agriculture and food production in its many forms, because we need them for different markets, and we need them just to keep the food supply available and nutritious, but also affordable for people.
So, what do you mean by sustainability? I did read that article, by the way.
Oh, you did? Okay.
Oh, absolutely. I read everything I possibly could. But tell the viewers what you mean by sustainability, and why is it that important?
It is so important. I think, and you really raised a great point, because everybody has a different definition. Right? You look at sustainability, there's a lot of things out there. For me, it comes down to a pretty basic. As we think about the inputs we're providing to produce that crop, are we basically keeping a farm or a ranch sustainable in how it approaches it? So are we keeping the water quality high? Are we keeping the soil quality high? Are we minimizing our inputs while allowing for a appropriate level of productivity? And one thing I always point out is, in my definition of sustainability, economic sustainability of the farmer and rancher has to be included in that too. Because if they're not in business, none of us have food. And so for me, it's about soil health, it's about water quality, air quality, all those kinds of things, sustainable practices, but it's also about making sure the economics work for the producers, because they need to be in business in order for us to have food on our tables.
Yeah. So how does organic fit into that scenario? I mean, organic may not be for everybody, but I guess it's a big, huge trending market. And how does that work with sustainability and farmers? And I mean, for me, it's just so important to make sure that our farmers are taken care of financially, because they are everything. And I don't know if society has done that well for farmers, but what does it mean for you to be organic versus conventional?
I think one of the things whenever you're in the seed business, one of the things people have to recognize is we are providing seed to many growers of many different types. We have a lot of organic customers. We have conventional customers. We have large customers. We have small customers. Our job is to give them the kinds of innovations they need to stay in business. And it's funny because some people think about organic as it's got to be traditional methods, which it does. There's an organic standard that describes what that market is, what they have to do to maintain that market's organic certification. But they also need innovation. They also need technology. For example, when I talked about those disease resistances or those genetic markers we use, that's extremely valuable for an organic grower, because they, by the way the program is designed, they can't use some of the synthetic pesticides. They can use organic pesticides, but they can't use many other tools that conventional farmers should use, which means having resistance that's built into the plant is extremely important for an organic grower, because they need to take full advantage of all the biology that's out there. So there is a great argument to be made that this technology and the new biology is actually a great enabler of the organic industry, because it allows the plant to actually do a lot of the work that you may have been relying on synthetic pesticides to do otherwise. So for me, organic is an important market. We have a number of our customers that participate in that market. We need to provide solutions to them, whether it be our seed or in some cases biologicals that are organically certified that they can use. We want to give them the tools to participate in those markets, just like growers that choose to participate in other markets. We want to give them those tools as well.
That's fantastic. I mean, so looking at stats for Bayer, you guys produce what, 23 to 25% of all seeds in the world. Am I correct?
Well, I think it depends. There's lots of ways they define that. Some of it is, and it's value versus number of seeds. It's value. If you look at seed value versus number of seeds, you come up with a different number. So I think the value side, yeah, because we participate in valuable markets, so you get a significant percentage. But one thing about vegetable seed, it's much more distributive. There's many players out there. When you get into the big row crops, it is, I'd say, more concentrated with big players, but still, there's certain levels to how much you can, as far as market share goes. For vegetable seeds, though, you've got a lot of local options, because the end product is so specific to different markets. And so it's much more, it's just, you don't have as large of a presence in vegetable seeds, and no one does, just because of the qualities and the characteristics they're looking for, which allows for a lot of local companies to do quite well. Whereas when you're talking about, the big field crops, row crops, where yield is the driver, there's more concentration in those crops.
So how does that work with what your thought process? Obviously, you're in charge of R&D of one of the largest seed companies in the world. You have DuPont, you have ChemChina. I imagine there's other ones as well. Is there competition between everybody, and what sets everybody apart?
Everyone thinks they have something that sets them apart. We're all proud of what we do. And in fact, I'll be honest, I have a lot of friends in other companies around. Everybody does. There's a lot of great seed companies out there. I think for us, what we try to really focus on is innovation. We pride ourselves on trying to bring the latest and greatest. The other thing I think we focus on is we're not just a seed company. We have a very big interest in digital tools to help farmers manage their crops. We sell biologicals, we sell crop protection. We try to provide the solutions that farmers need, and really the chain needs, in order to produce a crop. And that's where I'm very proud to be about part of Bayer, because we can offer a pretty diverse offering. And I will say what we try to pride ourselves on is really being the innovators, really thinking about what do we need from our food supply, what do we need from how we produce that food, and be there with the solutions that people are waiting for and when they need it. And
And so,
every company will tell you a very similar story. I'll tell you, because they're all proud of it. Because there's some great competition out there, some great companies that are providing products for farmers around the world.
so explain to me some of those other things that you're talking about, like biologics. Tell me more about that.
The biologics it's a growing field. It's really cool. So what it is, it's basically looking at, for example, for if there are fungi or fungus will attack a plant. There are also other organisms that will actually attack that fungus. So rather than using a chemical or a fungicide to control the fungus, you actually use another biological that will actually attack it. For insects, there's a BT, Bacillus thuringiensis, which is a microbe in the soil that actually controls insect pests. So rather than using a chemical agent, what you're using is an organism that actually is a natural foil to that pathogen or that pest, and that's what you're actually providing to the grower to use in their operation. Many of these are actually available for organic growers because they're natural microorganisms, and so they're amenable to the organic standard. But it's great. My dad was a carpenter, and he always said, "Don't leave for a job unless you got the right tools in the toolbox." Biological is another one of those tools, just like the genetics is a tool, just like crop protection, chemistries are a tool. You want all the tools in that toolbox because depending upon the circumstance, depending upon the market you're gonna be selling to, you're gonna want to pick and choose what tool you want. And that's what the biologicals are about. It's basically looking at natural pests, what the pest or pathogen is, and then what are their natural enemies in nature, and then you actually produce that pathogen or the pathogen's enemy, and that's what you sell to the grower for them to use on their fields, in their soil, or on their crop. It's pretty cool technology. It's basically harnessing what nature is already teaching us, which is cool as a biologist.
Well, one of your specialties, I guess, from way back when, is insect management or insect toxicity issues, or what was it?
Yeah, that's what it was. So I worked for a number of years on ways to control pests. And what was happening was, there were a lot of insecticides out there. And what we looked at was, there's tools in nature that can do this. So let's look at microbes. Let's look at how are insects, what's killing them in nature, right? And that's where BTs come in, Bacillus thuringiensis. And it's a really cool thing because they're incredibly specific. So most insecticides will control any number of insects. So then you begin to worry about non-target effects, whereas BTs have co-evolved with the insects so that they're very specific. One BT will only control certain caterpillars, or they'll only control certain beetles. So what it allows you to do by using BTs or using other natural pesticides like that is it's able to control the pest, but not worry about controlling other things that you don't want to, that you want to be able to flourish. And that's what's cool about the biologicals. And yeah, that's what I spent a lot of years killing bugs. It's actually a great way to earn a living, but it was really from the biology standpoint, thinking about how does nature do it, and let's figure out how we can harness that in plants to do that.
I like that. I mean, it's obviously something that I think we're all plagued with. If we grow anything, I know I've got a fruit beetle problem right now,
Yep.
And it's like, how do you control these things so you get any yield?
Yep.
We had thousands and thousands, probably over 1,000 nectarines on one tree. The thing was crazy, and I come out in a week and they're all gone. The beetles are they've eaten everything.
Well, you think about it, Greg, you had this beautiful sweet fruit sitting there, right? You're not the only one that wants to eat it. That's the basic message. There's a lot of other things out there, insects and otherwise, that want to devour that. So, and I love when people say they're growing this or growing this, they have these issues, because then they're realizing, well, if you were on 1,000 acres or even 100 acres, think about magnifying that. That's why these tools are so important, because the same challenges you face in your backyard garden is amplified over multiple acres. But it's the same problem. Is okay, I'm trying to produce this beautiful, delicious vegetable, but there's a lot of things that want to eat it besides me, and that's basically what you're trying to prevent.